Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our late week show recorded on Thursday, January 21st, talking about the racing on the 23rd at Gulfstream and Santa Anita. Super excited by this Pegasus card, the stakes-laden Pegasus card, and we're bringing in a guy to chat about these races. He is pretty expert in both these places. He's going to have some money on the line in the Pegasus contest this Saturday. And, of course, he does the expert picks on Santa Anita for our friends over at twinspires.com. He's coming to us from the planet Texas, the people's champion, Jonathan Kinchin. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, PTF? I'm supposed to be working on my posture, but we got 12 races to look at. I've been up since 5. I'm going to go with the anti-posture in this one, and hopefully it doesn't offend anyone to see me looking a little bit more comfortable than normal.
Yeah, the afro gets like 3 extra inches when you sit up straight like that, I see. But yeah, you do your posture does look comparatively slumped over to the usual fine stuff that we see back there.
It's got a little lean back, like Bernie Sanders at the inauguration.
I want to see the Kinchin memes. Can you get a pair of those gloves, JK?
I was just telling a friend those gloves are fire, and if I could find them, I would get them.
I guarantee you, go online right now, you can see them. Surely handmade by somebody in Vermont, and now selling for $3,000 a pair. But so you're playing in this contest. We had a funny exchange off air where you said you're playing in the $12,000 contest. I said, isn't it a $6,000 buy-in, JK? And you replied,
I'm playing with 2 entries, so it's a $12,000 contest to me. So I will be playing in the contest. I don't know how yet, but I will be playing and looking forward to it. It's always, it's kind of snuck in as one of those majors throughout the year. It's fairly new contest. Obviously the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, the NHC, this one, the Pegasus is right up there with it. Even the dollar amount might be a little bit less. We still give our friends at Keeneland a lot of love for the grade 1 gamble that Jim Goodman does. And so this is definitely one that I look forward to every single year. First and the Stronach Group do a great job contributing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, $50,000 seeded into the prize pool, which horse players can't complain about that.
No, that is definitely a good deal. I presume this will be a rematch between you and Marshall Graham from the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. You've been talking a little trash?
No, not trash. I just asked him if he'd let me win this time. So he said he would agree to a 1-2 finish the other way if he could get that on paper right now.
If he could lock it in. Lots more happening on the network. We are going to have more about the Pegasus card on Plus. I'm going to do the early pick 5 and recap late stakes thoughts with Benny South Street. That'll be out tomorrow if you're interested in checking that out. Also going to be a nice analysis from Tyler Wisman about the cross country pick 5 this weekend as part of Plus, and Matt Vagvolgi will be on there too. If you're interested in getting that content, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. And we're expanding our free content on the blog. Talking about Marshall Graham always makes me think about Oaklawn beginning tomorrow, the Friday, and I'll have a write-up on the site it'll actually be just a link to my ATR write-up about the Smarty Jones. And I do believe Spencer Lugenbuehl is going to be doing daily picks. We'll see if he follows through on this. I'll be very impressed. It's a lot of races and a lot of hard form to go through. But I always like reading Spencer's input, and he's going to be covering Oaklawn.
Speaking of Oaklawn, we've talked about it before, but I'll throw it out there again. We're on tomorrow, FS2, FS1. I don't know. We're back and forth. I always tell people just to watch on YouTube. It's easier that way. But we've got, I think, Tampa, Fairgrounds, Oaklawn, and Aqueduct throughout the weekend, all 3 days. So, and I know there will be some FS1 late on Saturday and Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm off. I guess because they're going to pick up the other coverage. They'll pick up the NBC coverage on Sky. So I actually get a rare Saturday off. I can just, basically do exactly what I do when you see me on TV, but with a lot more drinking involved. That's essentially the way that's going to shake out, and more parent interruptions, which, might actually make for good TV. So that should be a lot of fun. What else is happening? I feel like we're missing a trick on something cool going on this weekend, but maybe that's it. Check it out, inthemoneypodcast.com, and lots of great offerings there. Super excited about these new podcasts that are dropping for my run today. If I ever get time to do it, JK, really psyched to listen to this new JK Plus One with Aiden Butler. Tough act to follow in a sense. I thought that Billy Koch interview, no matter what area of the game. You are a fan, an owner, a bettor. You had great stuff for all three of those segments with Billy Koch, and I would imagine it's going to be more of the same with Aiden. Were you happy with how it turned out?
Yeah, no, Aiden was great. I joke in the beginning of the podcast that, the first time I met Aiden, I was like, who's this bad guy from Crocodile Dundee? And
wrong accent.
Right. And then I got to talk to him and got to know his background from as a third generation legal bookmaker in the UK. And so I talk about at the beginning of the show. I think that racing is in a better situation, in a better position if we can have people that understand the betting side of the game in positions of power, making decisions. Now, it doesn't mean that these people are going to just lay down and do whatever horse players say. They've got other constituents, if you will, that they have to kind of answer to. They got to answer to the horseman. They got to answer to the generic fan. They also have to answer to the corporations in which they work for. And so, but I do think we're better off having people that know what the heck's going on when it comes to wagering. So I was excited to get Aiden on there and to kind of remove the myth that I once had that he was just a bad guy from a Bond movie.
A Bond movie might work better, actually. It is, I'm critical of hats, and the man can rock a hat. I'll give him that. And I mean, let's just we're students of past performances here, right? So let's take a look how much better of a shape California racing was in from when he arrived to when he left. Obviously, that's not all him, and we got to give shout outs to our man Nate Newby anytime we're talking about California racing. But how about that for one achievement, going to Gulfstream, and all of a sudden the races go off on time, something that we've been dying for a long time. And let me tell you, it's made the Sky broadcast so much better, JK. Can you imagine, like, you guys usually do what, 2 tracks or 3 max, trying to juggle 4, and one of them is going to go off at a semi-random time. That was fun, but not just from a selfish broadcasting point of view, just as a horse player, obviously it's so much better. So with those, the first two songs, I'm very excited to see what he does for an encore, and an encore after that. Be following with great interest. We'll be listening to that. I told you this was going to be a lean and mean show, and then I spend the first 10 minutes chatting with you, but that's what happens. That's the vibe of these shows, just having conversations we wanted to have anyway.
It happens.
Shall we dive into these races? What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park. Doing the show a day early. My thoughts are a little more inchoate than usual, but there's some horses I definitely want to talk about. This is a race that goes off at 3:09 Eastern, the Grade 3 La Prevoyante Stakes. Turf, 1.5 miles. Fillies and mares, 4 and up. JK, how are we going to kick this thing off?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Always Shopping on the inside was one that if you were trying to kind of budget here, you could probably get skinny and potentially single. I just thought the horse's last performance was really good, closing into a slow pace. If you look at time form, US blue pace figures there. First off, a little bit of a break, gets the inside draw with IRAD. He's going to save ground. So I felt like this horse was definitely an A for me. I do want to use the 10 English Affair and the 11 Traipsing. English Affair is one I just think has some sneaky performances. I think Rusty Arnold does a great job. And so to have this horse in the mix at what I'm assuming is going to be a pretty big price, I couldn't really pass on that opportunity. I've got some other spots where I might try to get a little bit skinnier to be able to afford this play. And then the 11 Traipsing, I think this horse, I found that he was involved in a key race way back at Gulfstream earlier this year. And I've just kind of followed her, but her new running style of going to the front and being forward. She has Joel Rosario. Outside draw is not ideal, but I think has the tactical speed enough to kind of get into position. So those are kind of the 3 A horses I wanted to use. And I was going to use Lovely Lucky as a B, has shown a liking for these longer distances on the turf. And so I felt like was one that you'd want to kind of have a little bit of a saver on. So those are the 3 A's for me, and I'll use the 5 as a B.
All right. We have very similar horses, slightly different order. I was going to go with the 10 English Affair on top. I just thought it was interesting off a couple of rough trips, and I thought there might be plenty of pace to set up the late run. If the pace holds together, Always Shopping makes a ton of sense as a B. And then I was also interested in Traipsing, who I wasn't exactly sure if was going to try to sit off of Always Shopping or maybe try to go to the lead. But in any case, looks to be forward and is one that I wanted to keep on side in this spot. Let's move on to race number 9, JK, 340 Eastern, the Grade 2 Inside Information Stakes. We're 7 furlongs on the dirt, 4 and up, fillies and mares. I was very attracted to number 6, Pacific Gale, in this spot, who I thought had a very good chance to be the best speed and appeared to be working well. I was going to keep it simple and go with Pacific Gale. How did you see it?
Yeah, I've been chasing Pacific Gale for a while, and she just kind of consistently lets me down. I think she's interesting when she's, 27-1, when she's 15-1, but when she starts getting single digits down to the 4s and the 5s, I don't think she's nearly as interesting in that spot. I thought that the 2 Cinnabunny was one that I wanted to give another shot. I thought the horse was going to run better for Brad Cox last time, but when you have a high percentage trainer like Brad, you have to give them more than one shot to get that thing right. So he learned something last time. I understand why the horse didn't make the lead last time. The super speedy Ladies Island was in there for Averill Racing and the Matisse brothers. And so she's obviously going to go to the front. So I think maybe this time they know what they need to do with her, and she'll be ridden a little bit differently. The other A that I wanted to use was the 4. This is My Time. This horse just has fast figures, and I think in this spot is tactical enough to stay forward. And the 2 B horses I was going to use is the 1 Dream Marie, who I think will be running on late. Horse just kind of fits in here from a number standpoint, should be able to save some ground, kind of get the trip that you want for those type of closers. And the 7 Sally's Curlin, she's a horse that if there's a lot of speed in here, I could get interested in having her. But I just feel like the 7 furlongs and not a lot of speed might be a little bit too much for her. So I'd use her as a B as well.
That all makes sense in terms of the construction of your tickets. And you make some great points about Cinnabunny, who I might have been too dismissive of. That's a great double point about second time Cox and no Ladies Island to muck things up on the front end and set those red time form fractions. She's just got to be better than Pacific Gale early to potentially be the best of speed here. That's one I think I'm going to definitely think to include, but I still do think that Pacific Gale has a lot of reasons to maybe run a little bit better in this spot. We shall see how it plays out in the track on Saturday. Let's move on to Gulfstream Park race number 10, 413 Eastern, the Grade 3 W.L. McKnight Stakes, turf, 1.5 miles for 4 and up. JK, we'll keep it with you.
Yeah, I'll be quick with this one. I'm going to use the 2 Maker horses because it's 1.5 miles on the grass. There's nothing to really talk about there. I think the 4 Temple's interesting. Irad lands there, which I think is also interesting. And then the 7 Tide of Sea is another one who, I think the 12 furlongs is really going to help.
Are you willing to stand with those 2 against the field, JK, or are there some others you want to throw in here?
I wouldn't be terrified to do so, but I do want to use the 1 and the 11. I thought Doswell down towards the inside feels like a horse that could end up getting the lead. If he doesn't get the lead, I do think that he can work out a great trip from the inside, saving ground. And Junior Alvarado feels like he always kind of shows up on these days and smacks you in the face when you're not expecting it. And I like the ability for him to get a good trip from the inside. The other horse is a horse I worry about getting a good trip, but the horse is talented, and that's the outside Channel Cat, right? Channel Cat did some really nice things for Todd Pletcher in the past. Jack Sisterson, I think 2020 was a year in which Jack Sisterson reminded the world that he could train some horses and he can win big races. And I think Channel Cat is one that could get involved if they can work out a trip. It's a little bit confusing because Corey Lanery obviously likes to get to the rail, and he's going to have 10 horses he's going to have to work around to get to that spot. And he also has a horse that has some tactical speed to be able to kind of get where he needs to go. But I think he's talented enough that you'd want to use him as an A. So I'm going to go 4 A's here, no B's. I'm going to use the 2 Makers and the 2 outside the bookends, the 1, 4, 7, and 11.
Excellent. In order of preference, 4, 7, 1, 11. Would you say that's right?
No, I would think that my top choice would be the 7, and then the 1 would be my second choice.
7, 1, 4, 11. I'll write it in as with the understanding that it's early and, you might end up mixing things around. Things do happen. I'm with you on Doswell. There were 2 horses I marked that I definitely want to talk about, and Doswell was one of them. I did think might try to wire them on the stretch out here for Barclay Tag. It felt like a good trip was in the offing, just as you said. The weird one I want to throw in there for a penny, JK, number 3, Miranake, getting back to the turf. Multiple Group 1 or Grade 1, I guess I should say, placed on that surface in Argentina. And I just felt like sometimes these dirt horses get back to turf and that can confer a little bit of advantage. And I was guessing, we don't have the morning line at the minute, but I was guessing that Miranake would be a big price in this spot. What price do you think that horse will be ish? And do you have any interest at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really my strong suit. Is the what odds is this horse going to be game? They brought the horse to this country and ran him on the dirt 4 times. So it feels like this is we spent this money on this horse thinking he was going to be a dirt horse, and he's not. So now what do we do? Oh, let's try him on the grass.
Yeah, I read it just as there's a lot more money on the dirt and a lot more upside on the dirt. So let's try that with this dual surface performer. But maybe on these shores, dirt horse is too good. Turf horses, maybe. Anyway, not a horse I'm interested in at less than 6-1, but a horse that I thought could be a big price and would be, interest goes up as does the price with that one. So yeah, I'm going to try to mess around with the 1 and the 3 on the A line. Probably throw some more stuff in on the B line. I'll be yapping more about this race on Plus. I'm not holding out on anybody, but I wouldn't mind grinding through it one more time as well. Let's move on to the first of our Pegasus races. Race number 11, 4:59 Eastern is the post for the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational Stakes. We're on the turf, of course. We're at 1 mile and 3/16 for runners 4 and up. And we're probably going to land on the same horse here, JK, and it's my turn. So I get to talk about number 5, Colonel Liam. Took that big step up last time in what surely felt like a prep for this. I love that when a horse takes that step forward and I feel like there's more under the hood. That's the impression that Colonel Liam gave me the last day. I think if this horse fires the A shot, I'm not saying it's an easy spot. There's some good runners in here, but I think Colonel Liam is going to take a whole lot of beating. I did want to have little backups perhaps with the 2 and the 3. Breaking the Rules is a horse that I've always admired. I felt like that was a fast race last time, and I just didn't love the trip. Bumped at the start, moving wide into a fast pace. I don't know. Breaking the Rules is a horse who I could see having a big win on his resume before his career's over at presumptive double-digit odds. This is a horse I wouldn't mind having in the mix. And then Storm the Court, a horse we've talked about on podcasts before. Maybe he's found his home now. Not a horse that I love, but I think should be positioned forward. I really liked the race last time against Smooth Like Straight. And another double-digit odds for a penny on the backup line. I think it's probably all about Colonel Liam. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I was prepared for Colonel Liam to kind of be a single type horse and a horse that I thought was going to be extremely hard to beat in here. And I think visually, and if you follow the kind of the storyline of Colonel Liam, I think that he is still that animal. The problem that I have is that when you look at the numbers, he's not necessarily the standout that I was hoping he was going to be in this field. He kind of is just right there with these other ones. Now, the one thing I will say about Colonel Liam is that he is a newly turned 4-year-old. So there's that continued ability or a continued opportunity for improvement. This is only his second start as a 4-year-old. He's coming in off a long layoff. That was clearly not the spot. This is the spot. So you got to think that he's going to have a little bit of a jump. And if he has that jump, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, points, then maybe he is that horse. I can't not use North Dakota and say the word. I think both of those horses are horses that, this 1 mile and 3/16, that little kind of extra umph when it comes to the distance. I think these horses have proven they'll go that far. I think the pace is going to be extremely fast in this race, just based on a lot of horses that are forward. There's not a bunch of burners, but there's a bunch of forward horses. It's a big field, so it makes me feel like the pace will be a little bit quicker. And I want those 2 horses, North Dakota and say the word finishing. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of hard press with Colonel Liam, kind of make that one a hard A. And then the 4 and the 11, I'll use those as kind of soft A's. One way you can do that if you're using Ticket Maker or whatever you use, you just have to do it twice. You make a ticket with the 4, 5, and 11, and then you make a ticket with just the 5. So you have 2 different runs. That's kind of how you can extra press that one. So I'll be doing that. And I think the B horses that I'll use, I agree with you on Breaking the Rules and the 7 Aquaphobia. It's Mike Maker. It's long on the grass. I think Aquaphobia has always been meant to be a good horse. Let's see if he can show it on Saturday.
There you go. There it is from JK. Lots of good thoughts there on the World Cup turf. And we'll talk about the big one now. We're going on to the Pegasus World Cup. And, of course, we're at 1 mile and 1/8 right here on the dirt for the Invitational. in effect once again. I don't know what happened to my mouth words there, JK. I apologize. Um, we'll bring this one right back to you. How are we going to get paid?
This is a race where if the draw would have gone differently, I would have picked another horse. I think there's two horses that are the most likely winner: the 4 Knicks Go and the 7 Tax. I'm going to ultimately pick Tax on top. If Tax was drawn inside of Knicks Go, I'd pick Knicks Go. Well, I see this as a race that when they get to the quarter pole, Tax and Knicks Go are going to be 8 to 10 in front of everyone else. They're going to be way out in front, and then whoever's the best of those two is going to win. I'm going to go with Tax being drawn outside. Now, I do think that what happens behind them could get a little bit kooky. I think Code of Honor is the obvious. Maybe he's going to get up for a piece. The pace could be fast. He's going to come pick him up. I just think Code of Honor is better going one turn. I think the 1-turn mile is his best situation. Don't ask the Met Mile. He ran into a weird situation that day in a freaky horse in Vacoma. But I just feel like his races going to 2 turns just aren't as good at this level against this type. And Knicks Go and Tax are just going too well. So for me, it's those two. I will use Code of Honor and Mr. Freeze as B types. Mr. Freeze obviously runs well at Gulfstream. He ran 3rd in this race last year. I just don't think he's good enough to win the race. But those are the 2 that I'll use. The 3 I'll use as Bs. I'll also use the 1 horse, Sleepy Eyes Todd, who's been very consistent in the last 365 days.
Good stuff. I thought Knicks Go would gut him here, and I'm a little surprised you think Tax is going to be that close to him. That gives me a little bit of pause. But I was ready to go forward with Knicks Go and just go on with life. You're not confident though that he's just going to be loose and bury these.
No, just for the sake of the podcast and picking a horse, I'll pick the 7. But when it comes to the Pegasus contest, when it comes to the pick 5, the pick 6, whatever I'm playing on the day, I will be alive to both of them with a little bit of a lean towards Tax, just because Tax has a race this year. He came back and ran the best race of his life. He seems to be training well. You'd like to think he's going to run better. Actually talked to Randy Hill. He's extremely, extremely confident that this horse is going to run well. So I love Knicks Go. Don't get me wrong. I just don't. I don't like the fact that Knicks Go is going to be inside of a good horse. It just makes it just harder. It's just a harder situation. Now, if Knicks Go guts him, I'm not going to be shocked, and I'm not going to be dead in any multi-race bet I play either. But for the sake of making a pick, I'll pick Tax. But I think they're very, very close.
How much will how the track is playing affect you as the day goes on with that opinion? Because if the rail's even okay, I'm not sure that the inside isn't an edge for Knicks Go.
Yeah, I mean, the rail doesn't typically – I mean, it can get pretty good down there from time to time. Obviously, if it ends up being a speedway down there, that completely can change things. But at the same time, I've seen a lot where that can sometimes backfire, where a horse will be too aggressive to get to that spot, use too much. And it's not like Tax is going to be 7 wide. If Knicks Go was on the rail, Tax is going to be in the 2 path sitting right outside of him. So, it also price depends too, right? But I think for the sake of this conversation on a Thursday, I'm going to go with Tax as my pick.
Makes sense to me. Little Bird, who'd been watching them train a bit at the fairgrounds. Regular listeners can probably take a wild guess who I mean. Very impressed with Knicks Go as well. One of the things that helped push me over the top with that opinion. I was trying to grab the 6-4 available in the UK. It hasn't happened yet, and it's now shortening at the sharper books. I'm not sure if I'm going to bother to get on or not. But anyway, that is what I think of that. That is what JK thinks of that. And with all that, we're going to move out to Santa Anita, the place where, again, you can find JK's picks every racing day over at twinspires.com, the expert picks. You can now find them on the homepage over there as well. And I did confirm conversation we're going to have off air anyway. I did confirm very good thing, very, very pleased with the results, and thus reducing the effort one needs to find those expert picks over at twinspires.com, which is pretty cool. We'll start by talking about the late pick 5, race number 5, 3-year-old claimers, $25,000 going 6 furlongs for these fillies. JK, what did you think about this race?
Yeah, I thought the 7 respectfully was going to be hard to beat in here. Fast number, outside, tactical, Doug O'Neill. It just felt like that was the one. Gets Lasix for the first time now after a big performance. I think that you could look at that as a positive as well, running that well and then deciding to add the Lasix. So that was the one that I wanted as the A horse. The other 2 that I'll use as Bs are the 4 Seguro, and the 9 Will Take a Kiss. This is an old thing that I picked up, and I believe it was Jeremy Plonk. Back in the day, I heard him say this once. And it's when you're looking at these claiming level races and you see which horses broke their maiden for maiden special weight versus horses that broke their maiden for a tag. It's like a hidden class thing that sometimes can get buried in the form. You won't notice it. They've all been running for tags now, and they're not good. And so you just assume they're all the same. So those two horses both broke their maidens in that situation. So I'm hoping for a little bit of back class to kind of help them. But I think that the 7 is going to be extremely hard to beat off that last performance.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add there. Respectfully, I felt like was going to get the right kind of trip and probably get the job done or go close in this race number 5 at Santa Anita. Let's move it on to race number 6, Jonathan. Starter allowance ranks here going 1 mile and 1/8 on the turf. And I was curious what you thought about the number 2 Kiwi's Dream, this Australian bred horse. Timeform US had projected clear, coming off a sizable 138-day layoff, but I was thinking that perhaps the work the other day up north indicated readiness. Very curious your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, it's an A horse for me. One of the things I like to do when it comes to these layoffs is look to see what they've done in layoffs prior. This horse has run off a layoff 7 times, 3 wins, 2 seconds. So 5 times in the exact of 7. The horse runs well fresh. The conditioner knows how to get this one ready to run. He's drawn inside. He's got tactical speed. If he doesn't make the lead, he's going to save ground and get a great trip. And that seemed to have been doing well at Santa Anita. Also, the stretch out to the 1 mile and 1/8, I think, is interesting as well. I think speed can be more dangerous. When you're loose speed stretching out, I think you're more dangerous because now you're going to be clear. You're going to be able to go a little bit slower than you typically go in the other races. And you'll be able to, that if the distance is a question, you're going to have everything your way to be able to find that extra furlong. So I think that horse is interesting. The 4 Noble Thought is another one, just typical lazy east to west handicapping. I can't get by it. I won't stop doing it. It just works. And I think this horse could run well in here off of the coast change. And then the 6 Vegas Kitten ran extremely well first out for Peter Miller. We've seen what Peter Miller can do when he claims a horse, get him going in the right direction. And this horse ran well last time, and I think will run well again. And this horse is tactical enough and good enough to potentially take away any advantage that Kiwi's Dream has. I'm going to use Kiwi's Dream as well, but I'm going to use 3 A horses, 2, 4, and 6. My top pick would be the 6.
Top pick the 6. So I'll write that in as 6, 2, and 4 as A horses, and we will move things right along to race number 7. We're in the graded stakes ranks here. Grade through Paulos Verdes, going 6 furlongs for 3 and up. JK, who's it going to be?
Yeah, I like to take the 101, the 7, which is also funny. My California people, I do want to figure out why you guys always add the in front of highways. I have a friend,
the 101.
Yeah, like our main highway here is 35, Interstate 35. No one says the 35, but I have some friends who moved here from California. They call it the 35. I'm like, stop it. It's not, we don't do that.
Yeah, you never say the 95, but it sounds weird to say 95. You kind of have to say I-95. You might say 95, but I-95 just sounds better.
Yeah, I-30. Yeah, we say I-35, but we also just say 35. I like take 101. I left the D out. I like take 101. This horse is cutting back. This horse has always kind of been in the mix, kind of been a sneaky good horse, but he's been doing it going longer. And I kind of like the cutback here. He's drawn outside. He's tactical enough to not get too far back, and he'll be finishing in this spot. I'm going to go with that one on top. The 8, knee deep in snow. Those words are all together. They get me sometimes. This horse ran well last time, going to 6.5, cuts back to the 6. The pace figure suggests that could help. And I love the outside draw. Not going to have any horses in his way and should be able to get the job done. And then the 5, Shake Me Up, is another horse I've always just been interested in. I think our friend Jason Avila actually is the one who turned me on to him. He famously bet this horse in a future wager to win the Derby with our friend Marv. And Marv told me, Shake Me Up. And I've just been following this horse all along. He's, I think he'll continue to improve for Peter Miller. And we've seen what Peter Miller has done with sprinters that he gets. And I think he'll continue to improve. So those are the 3 for me. And I'm going to use all 3 of those as A's. I will use Shoot as a B horse. This horse is another one that I think has been running well longer. The cutback might be the thing that wakes him up. I'm not crazy about the inside draw. And so that's why that one will be a B for me. But yeah, I'll use those other ones as A's, and that one is a B.
You're gonna have to turn in your silver wig. What about our old friend Axeman coming here off the long break, but blazing fast workout the other day? I mean, I know that's sort of Baffert's bag, but I thought this horse looked like one that had to be considered in this spot, and it doesn't even make it as a B horse for you. I was also interested in Shoot or Shoot for the reasons you mentioned, the cutback, etc. Give me your thoughts on Axeman.
Yeah, I don't have any information. I just know a couple of things. One is that he is a little bit of a name horse, right? He won on the Preakness undercard when Justify won, and he's a name horse. He's been running in stakes. He's been around for a while, so he's going to take money. It's Baffert, but he's in and out and off and on and in and out and off and on. He's got good races and horrible races, good races and horrible races. And then when was the last time Tyler Bays rode for Bob Baffert? So I just felt like maybe he wins by 12, but I feel like there's some value in trying to beat him in this spot. So I'm either all silver wig or no silver wig at all.
I was going to leave him. I was going to leave him in the mix. I struggled with this race. I think Take the 101, whose name has a very, very different meaning to those listening in England and Ireland, by the way. Nothing to do with the highway, everything to do with a price, JK, that even you might find too short. 1 to 100 is what Take the 101 means in betting terms, exchange betting terms specifically. But I was gonna.
They both sound like bad ideas. I'll tell you that much. If you've ever been to California, or if you've ever bet a 0 to 100 or 1 to 100 shot, they both seem like bad ideas.
Both a little bit tricky. I was going to try to go 7-6 in that spot with the 3 and the 5 as backups. I love your points about Shusha Shake Me Up getting this cutback now for this barn that's just had so much success improving sprinters, even from other good outfits. Let's move on to race number 8. We've got a 4 and up allowance going 1 mile on the turf. And JK, I'm going to make you go first once again in this spot. How are we going to keep things? How are we going to keep things moving and grooving?
Look, this is a little bit of a fan pick, but I also think that there's something to it. I think it's super interesting, and I didn't get a chance to text to find out why, but the 7 good on paper is being switched to Michael McCarthy. And Glen Hill Farm obviously has a long-standing relationship with Tom Proctor and Tom Proctor's father, and Craig Bernick's really not ever used another trainer. Now, this could be a situation where Tom doesn't have a barn out there, and so they decided just to ship the horse out and have Michael run the horse, so they're running in his name. I'm guessing that's what's happening, but either way, I think that good on paper, coming from the East Coast out to the West Coast, told you it's a pet thing of mine, I think has a chance to run well in here. The 10 was another one that I thought was interesting. Applecross towards the outside. Applecross, he's going to have to work out a trip from out there, but I think that he could potentially do that if he can, just maybe take back, get over, make one run. I don't know how he's going to work it out, but he could be a top pick on numbers, but I worry about the trip for him. And then also the 4 is another one, New Phi Lambda.
Yep, that was my top pick in here.
I wasn't involved in the Greek scene, but this is a horse
you'd have been a huge hit, JK. You missed opportunity there.
This horse is one of those stretch outs. It's a forward type, but he's been going shorter. But if you translate that to longer, he'll be a little bit closer up. But I like stretch outs that are drawn to the inside. They can save ground. They can get covered. They can shut down. They have the quickness to get in and out of spots. So that was one that I wanted to use as well. So those I'm going to use those 3 as A's, and I wanted to use the 2 as a B. Another one I think will work out a good trip from the inside. Frank Miramati was singing the praises of this jockey Hernandez. If you're watching a lot, he watches a lot of races, obviously at Santa Anita, and he was singing the praises of how good this guy's riding. So I think that's one to take into account as well.
I liked New Pie Lambda. You made the case already. I was a little bit interested in Escape the City. Oh, and I remembered something else that I meant to plug before that I did not plug before, but I'll plug now. So my buddy, who I've always known as Faller, but his real name, that's just an old message board name. His real name is Stephen Bonnick, and he's very, very sharp judge. He helped us out a little bit with the Breeders' Cup Plus coverage. Just a great judge of form. We have this idea for a new feature. We're testing it out this Saturday. He's going to do a little paragraph write-up on every shipper coming to the U.S. So he's got these like little 7 write-ups. I'll give you an example here of what he said about Escape the City. Ex-Huey Morrison mare by Cityscape, exposed performer, not getting any younger, but capable on her day. Winner of a novice and a minor handicap, but no wins since September 19. Has looked in the grip of the handicapper, in other words, the weights have been appropriate, since that victory, and has struggled off marks in the 70s over there. She has form on artificial surfaces and different types of ground, seems to have a preference for firmer going, probably why she's here, and is adaptable in terms of distance, running well over a mile in August and shaping as though she could stay as far as 12 furlongs. Hard to expect too much of a 6-year-old mare who's 2 for 34 lifetime, but she has run fresh at least. Some good information there. Not exactly inspiring, but I still want to use, just based on almost the knee-jerk automatic reaction of Eastern, turf form shipping towards the West from the East. Escape the City will get some consideration for me in this spot as well. And that's going to be a fun little feature, JK. And as he gets going, one of the things I want to do is start getting a line on what, it's not an exact science, but looking at speed figures from over there that we have access to and trying to translate them to what kind of figure they'd run over here. I know our buddy Sean Borman had great success doing that at the Breeders' Cup. I would imagine that's something you'll be interested in checking out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's always an interesting idea when those horses come over here. And I think that a lot of times, the horse player, the American horse player just says, oh, they're from Europe, so they got to be better than ours. But it's not true, especially anymore with the way that turf is developed in this country, and it's not always the case. So I think there's some value to tossing those horses when they can't run.
We'll see what happens with Escape the City in race number 8, which will, by the way, be the first leg of the Golden Hour Pick 4. When we finish up with these Santa races, we'll look quickly at the last 2 from Golden Gate, a bet we're big supporters of for our friends out there. But first, let's finish up at Santa Anita with their nightcap, race number 9, 3-year-old maiden claimers for a $30,000 level. These fillies, JK, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the far outside. Look, it's got like everything I like written all over it. Second off a layoff, trainer change, blinkers off, Lasix, maiden special weight to maiden claimer. Like, let's see, what else do you need? Drawn outside.
I'll add one more, just on pace figures, projects to be on the lead.
Yeah, so this is a single A for me, and then I'll use the 5 and the 8 as B horses. The 8, has some experience. I think sometimes these lower levels, that experience just really goes a long way. A lot of times we look at the figures and they say, oh, he's not really fast enough. But horses run 3 times, has been out there, has been to the paddock 3 times, has went onto the track 3 times, has been in the gate for a start in a race 3 times. Like, that helps. It just helps them. And I think they can improve off of that. And then the 5, Best of Show, another one who ran okay at this level, was bet a little bit that day, 8-1 for Tim Yachtine, who doesn't win at a high percentage. He's actually doing really well at the meet, but in general, over time, he's a 13% trainer over time. He is 28% at the meet, but it was 8-1 that day. And I feel like this is a horse that, has had some experience too, and could pick up the pieces here, but I really like the 9 in here.
I'm with you on the 9. You already made the case. Let's hop up north to Golden Gate. We'll start off with race number 8, which is the leg B of the Golden Hour Pick 4, with the Santa Anita race we just talked about being the first race of the Golden Hour double. And these are 4 and up claimers going mile and a 16th on the synth for $25,000. I thought Outlaw was very interesting in the race just a little over a month ago, got stuck in a duel. I thought might be able to shake loose and go a little bit better and possibly get the job done on the front end. Number 5, Outlaw for me in this spot. JK, what did you think?
Yeah, this is a one where I am going to do one of 2 things. And it, depends on scratches, depends on other things. I'm either going to single Jonathan Wong in the 6. I'm guessing that's a myth call. And that one seems to have a figure edge, or I'm going to hit the all button, because in one of their last 2 races, all of these horses basically have a speed figure or a race that's basically the same thing. So in a situation where there's 7 horses, you're on the all weather, there's an opportunity for chaos to happen. And in this wager, the way that it's set up with the minimum and having the Golden Gate races in there, it pays well. There's some chaos when it happens. And so because I'm going to single the next race, I can't afford to use the all button here, but there's a small chance that I'll be pressing up the 6 in here. I like the 6 the most, seems to have a big edge. And Jonathan Wong obviously doesn't need an introduction at Golden Gate.
He wins an awful lot of races up there and is certainly one that I want to have as a backup getting onto the synth, but has acted just fine on the synth before. And this is a horse who I've been very familiar with over the last few months out there and may have a little bit of a class edge as well. I went with the pace angle, but that one, Mythcal, the 6, makes a ton of sense to me as well. You've hinted that you have an opinion here in this 9th race. This will be the anchor leg for both the double and the pick 4. Of course, we've got allowance types going a mile on the synthetic. JK, who's this horse you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the rail horse, the 1 Go Big Blue Nation for Michael McCarthy. But I got to be honest, Big Blue Nation struggling in the hoops. Took them orange. We're playing good. This is a situation where McCarthy sends horses up there from time to time. He wants to put his horses in positions where they can win. He's sent 9 horses up there in this current meet, and he's won 2 races. He's been in the money 7 of those races. So this horse is well meant going up there. And the problem is that this horse doesn't have a lot of early speed, but the good part is that doesn't really matter at Golden Gate. It's about turn of foot. It's about being in position. They're all bunched together when they turn for home anyways. And I believe Go Big Blue Nation will be the one that kick home from there. So I'll be singling in that last leg. And if I'm going to find a single, I like to try to find a single in the last. Now, if a single shows up in the first, I take the single in the first. But if I'm looking for one and I give a little bit of an extra lean to taking a single in the last, because you can do some things when you see the wheel pace.
Makes perfect sense to me. I definitely take your point about speed on the synth and the synth at Golden Gate not necessarily being as lethal as it is on other surfaces. But I'm still interested in Golden Iris in here, who I think will be on or near the lead. Just a pattern I don't mind at all. Second off a long layoff, getting back to what I believe is the better surface for her. She's been a bit of a nibbler in her career, but I definitely want to include Golden Iris in my reckoning. I certainly understand the case for Go Big Blue Nation, and we'll be backing up there. There you have it. We've gone through all these races. JK, any closing thoughts about these races or anything else this weekend before we wrap this edition of the show?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. The Stronach 5 carryover, obviously, on Friday.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I just recorded a show with Paul Matisse. We should plug that. That'll be up. Had so much fun. It was a little bit longer than usual, as with Paul, I can't help asking a bunch of general handicapping and form study questions as well. So that's what you're going to want to check out.
So there's that. And look, we like it all. The Oakland opening day is tomorrow. Like I said, the Fox show will be on all 3 days this weekend. NBC is going to have coverage of the Pegasus. I don't know. I don't even know who's. I don't think Lafitte. I know Lafitte's not going. I don't know if Nick Luck came over. Do you know if he came? Have you talked to him?
I would doubt it. I haven't talked to him, but it seems like that would be ambitious, and without the Euro participation this time around, not.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see what happens with that. But still, great race with the Pegasus contest, the Golden Hour. There's a cross country pick 5, the Aqueducts. I mean, there's a lot going on this weekend, and go Chiefs.
There you go. Yeah, go Chiefs indeed. I followed you in on that one. Is it official yet if Mahomes is going to play?
No, I mean, he practiced yesterday a little bit, like not a lot, just like a little bit. He's going to practice today. He's going to get
the price. Tell them your wise guy angle, and then
it's already going up. Yeah, the money line was minus 145. And my thought was, well, first of all, if you watch the video, this is down a rabbit hole.
I got way better than that. This is good. I'm feeling good. But all right, tell the story from the beginning.
If you watch the video, I don't think he hits his head. And I've been watching all these, like this pro football doc has been talking about it. I think he kind of got choked out for a second, and that's why he was woozy when he jumped up. And so I'm not worried about him not playing. In a normal week, they would circle this game and take it off the board. But because it's the playoffs and it's the AFC Championship game, they have to put it up. So they just put it up at -3 with a minus 145 money line. Now, as the week goes on, it's going to keep going. And I think when they declare that he's going to play, it's going to be like minus 225. And so I got involved at minus 145 and it's minus 162 now. So it's going in that direction.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm excited. Hopefully this will be big. I followed you in early in the week. I must have caught a weird line because I'm on at a nice number here and hoping that they can get the job done. You're going to laugh. My first NFL bet of the season. What were the odds of that going in?
You got it in a country that knows more about the other football.
I do call it. I even have Perrin calling it. I worry it sounds horribly pretentious. She calls it American football. Daddy, are you watching American football today? It's going to keep her from getting beat up in certain parts of the world and may cause her to get beat up in this part of the world. But fortunately, she's learning Taekwondo, so she can defend herself.
There you go.
Good stuff, JK. Pleasure talking to you as always. Quick shout out before we get out of here for our founding partners, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. Happy to be doing a little happy hour with them tonight. They somehow made their fundraising goals in 2020 against the odds. They're giving a lot of credit to you, our audience, for helping them to do that. But of course, calendar turns, new fundraising goals. And if you want to get involved, trfinc.org/players. And we'll be doing a lot more fun stuff with them, including quite possibly some whiskey. And of course, our other founding partner, 10 Strike Racing. Always great to do business. Fun to root for them. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe Marshall Graham will keep you in second and sleeping in the back house on Saturday in this Pegasus contest. Time will tell. That's going to do it. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. We've got to give a big shout out to our unsung team member, Producer Craig, always doing such a good job for us. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kitchen. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.